You might have noticed that number, 11.9 volts. Most people think a 12 volt battery means 12 volts is good. But if you see this number on your meter, your battery's already dead. So how can a 12 volt battery be dead at 12 volts? To understand that, we've got to go back in time. In 1859, Gaston Planté built the world's first rechargeable lead-acid battery. He had no idea he was about to set the law of 2.1 volts per cell, not by design, but by nature itself. That number wasn't chosen, it was discovered.
I made this.
It turns out the chemistry between lead and sulfuric acid just happens to make 2.1 volts. That's what he truly discovered that day. Early cars didn't even have batteries. They were cranked by hand to start, lights ran on gases, and the horn was literally a bell. By about 1920, cars have batteries and electric starters. All cars, trucks, and tractors use 6-volt systems. Just 3 cells in a wooden or glass box, sealed with rubber and tar. 6-volt batteries persisted until about 1955. At this point in time, we see 3 more cells added to that 6.3 volt battery. This brings us to a grand total of 12.6 volts.
You are welcome.
Now we have the power to crank over high compression engines. Cars could finally power more than just the basics. Suddenly things like radios, power windows, electric wipers, and brighter headlights became practical and reliable. But that new demand came at a cost. Old DC generators couldn't keep up. By the early 1960s, alternators replaced them, delivering cleaner output and steady charging even at idle.
An alternator, you say? Just a newfangled spinny boy.
By the late 1960s, tar-top batteries gave way to molded polypropylene cases. And for the first time, batteries could actually be sealed. But everything we just covered, the leaky acid, the venting gas, the heavy rubber cases, that's where one of the biggest battery myths was born. Let's take a minute here and try to understand this old wives' tale so that we don't have to keep talking about it in the future. So as we've covered so far, old batteries made out of glass, wood, rubber, tar, asphalt. Obviously all these can leak very easily, and these structures aren't very sound. That's where this whole "don't set it on the floor, don't set it on concrete or it'll discharge" myth came from. Modern batteries are plastic. They don't leak, and the concrete doesn't magically drain anything. Let's leave this myth in 1969 where it belongs. You remember back at the start of the video, that meter that read 11.9 volts? And we said that meant the battery was dead? Let's unpack why that number matters and what your battery's voltage is really telling you. A fully charged lead-acid battery sits at about 12.6 volts, or 2.1 volts per cell. That's the natural chemistry between lead and sulfuric acid doing its thing. Not something humans designed, just the way nature built it. As the battery discharges, the chemistry reverses. Sulfate builds up on the plates, the acid becomes weaker, and the voltage drops. So when you see 11.9 volts, what you're really looking at is a battery that's only about 25% charged, and it's already starting to struggle. To put it in perspective, if your phone showed 25%, you'd probably plug it in. But with car batteries, most people keep cranking until the battery completely collapses, often below 11.5 volts. By that point, it's not just low, it's actually damaged. Because charging a battery isn't instant. It's a chemical reaction in layers. The surface plates accept charge first, but the deeper material takes time to catch up. That's why a surface charge can fool you. Voltage might jump up right after charging, but it hasn't soaked in yet. That's why the real testing
A little
means
light
giving the
out.
battery
Putting it
under a load. Once the chemistry stabilizes, you get the true state of charge. So if you measure 12.4 volts, that's around 75% charge. At 12.2 volts, you're at 50%. And at 12 volts, you're down to roughly 25%. These aren't just numbers, they describe the health of the reaction inside the battery. Below 12 volts, lead sulfate starts crystallizing, making it harder to ever reach full charge. Leave it that way long enough, and the battery becomes a boat anchor. Keeping your battery healthy isn't just about the battery itself, it depends on everything around it. The alternator, the charging control system, clean terminals, solid grounds, and even the temperature under the hood. Every one of those pieces affects how easily that chemistry can reverse and store energy again. A healthy charging system should keep your battery near 12.6 to 12.8 volts when resting, and around 13.8 to 14.4 volts while the engine's running. That window is what keeps the chemistry balanced, not overcooked, not underfed. Now that we understand how a battery lives and charges, we can move forward to how the industry itself evolved and how standards like BCI helped define the modern 12-volt world. So now we know what the voltage numbers mean. But how did we even get to the battery designs we use today? Let's jump ahead to the 1970s when the industry finally started cleaning things up. In 1970, the Battery Council International, or BCI, was formed across the US and Canada. Before that, battery dimensions, terminal layouts were all over the place. Two 12-volt batteries might look the same on paper, but one wouldn't even fit your car. BCI changed that. They standardized physical sizes, post orientation, and testing methods. That's why we still see Group 24, 35, 51R on labels today. Those numbers come straight from BCI's blueprint. They also unified how we measure cold cranking amps and reserve capacity, which means you can actually compare batteries across multiple brands without rolling the dice. At the same time, cases changed from hard rubber to polypropylene plastic. That made batteries lighter, tougher, and sealed. No more topping off distilled water or cleaning acid mist off the caps. By the 1980s, manufacturers started sealing batteries to make them safer and cleaner. The gel cell was one of those ideas, a lead-acid battery where the acid was immobilized into a thick silica-based gel. It was spill-proof, maintenance-free, and worked great in boats, RVs, and backup power systems. But in cars, not so much. They didn't like heat, they didn't like being charged aggressively.
Weak source.
They were a good idea in theory, but in practice, gel cells never became the automotive hero people hoped for. Then along came the real deal, the Absorbent Glass Mat Battery, or AGM. Instead of a sloshing liquid or a stiff gel, the acid is held inside fine fiberglass mats pressed between the plates. That design meant no leaks, better vibration resistance, and way faster charging. It was originally built for military and aerospace applications. Think reliability above all else. And by the 1990s, it started showing up in high-end European cars. And honestly, it's still the best lead-acid battery ever made. It handles heat, cold, vibration, and abuse better than anything else in its class. If batteries had a king, this would be it.
10 out of 10. Would invent again.
Now here's where things take a turn. In the early 2000s, automakers started rolling out start-stop systems. The ones that shut off your engine at red lights to save fuel and emissions. That's why the EFB battery exists. A slightly modernized version of the same battery chemistry that's been around for more than 160 years. Far more robust than its predecessors, and it does stand up to the hundreds of start-stop cycles and charging events a day. But usually, it still gets replaced by an AGM in modern vehicles for more reliability. And just to mix it up, along comes lithium batteries. A completely different chemistry, built for an entirely new world of vehicles. Different materials, higher voltage per cell, built-in management electronics. It's a new game entirely, and it deserves its own video, to be honest. So we're going to do that in the future, but for now, we'll close this chapter where it began, with a 12-volt lead-acid battery. Still powering everything from classic cars to modern electronics, evolving quietly for more than a century.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.